Robert De Niro is in a Netflix limited series? Zero Day is a political thriller that showcases a believable threat. And make sure you don't tell anyone about Proteus. How do we find truth in a world in crisis, one seemingly being torn apart by forces outside our control? And in an era rife with conspiracy theory and subterfuge, how much of those forces are products of our own doing, perhaps even our own imagining? So in addition to DeNiro, this stars Jesse Plemons, Lizzy Caplan, Connie Britton, Joan Allen, Bill Camp, Dan Stevens, Matthew Modine, Angela Bassett, Clark Gregg, and Gaby Hoffmann. Good Lord, who is not in this show, right? So the basic premise of the show is that after a devastating cyber attack on America, the former president is called upon to lead an investigation into who's responsible and why. And from there, the story becomes a twisting web of conspiracy theories, gray legal areas, and a fevered pursuit of high-tech terrorists. Now, De Niro as the former president, he is stunning with an effortless performance. There's a sequence in the very first episode where he's conversing with Joan Allen, who plays his wife, and it actually stood out to me how flawlessly natural his interaction was. There wasn't a sense of him being a character. He was transparent, just completely disappearing, so that the person on the screen, it was real and not just some character. I mean, he continues this outstanding performance throughout the series. I thought it was awesome to watch. And through a story complication, he also has to experience some difficulties, and I loved how convincingly he pulled them off. Not just simply looking bewildered or maybe troubled, but every bit of him, including his posture, showed what he was experiencing at that moment. The story becomes tense very quickly, and thanks to the situation the country is facing, everybody could be a little sketchy. Now, the plot is fairly straightforward, moving linearly through time so that we watch the progression of the investigation as the days tick on after the zero-day event. And while this does have some political instances and commentary, the show is more focused on the mystery while also asking questions about the limits of government and where the law can be bent or broken in the name of national defense. And this didn't come across as preachy. I mean, it certainly could have, given De Niro's personal political stance, but his character is rooted in truth, which he then uses as his divining rod through most of the investigation. And because this is only 6 episodes, the story doesn't waste much time in areas that become unnecessary tangents, typically focusing on the core pursuit and only going wonky when misdirections and complexities are introduced. But within these diversions, some arcs feel weak and shallowly developed. There are at least 3 different storylines that I can think of that eventually feed into the main plot, but then also feel as though they've been forgotten and just dropped from the story after a quick reveal. I mean, I know that's to keep the progression tight and not get bogged down in the intricacies of the other points, but this does become a story convenience that can't be ignored. I want to give some specifics, but it treads dangerously close to big spoilers. Just be aware that certain contact points that characters have end up being intriguing, but then abandoned. Now, the story wouldn't be nearly as engaging without some awesome performances. Jesse Plemons, he is enigmatic throughout. Some just because of how he crafts the character, but also because the story leaves portions of who he is vague. I mean, it gives us enough detail to be familiar with him, but holding back enough to make him slightly a mystery. And the same goes for Lizzy Caplan and Bill Camp. Their additions create a lot of questionable vibes, where it's difficult to determine if they're on the up and up. Now, some of this simply comes about because of their involvement within the political landscape and how everyone seems to be keeping everything very close to the vest, naturally making anything they do obscure and hard to determine. Now, Joan Allen is an excellent match for De Niro. They create a believably weathered couple, strengthened and damaged by a life in politics. But Allen also has this quiet ferocity to her. She has more than a couple of sequences where she exerts control and authority, but does so in reserved and unassuming manners. There's this moment where she's addressing other political figures, and dang, it would actually be wonderful to see some of that strength and firmness to just stand up within the real U.S. political landscape. Dan Stevens is someone who's had a very awesome year and a half or so, and in this, he gets to once again play an American, taking on the role of extreme talking head internet personality. We all know the type. I mean, he's the one who exploits people's fears and also emboldens their hate so that viewers become mindless frothing drones who parrot everything the mediocre white man says, regardless of its veracity. Now that's truth or credibility for any who might be part of that frothing demographic. Another standout in this is Matthew Modine. He takes the smarmy persona that he has in Stranger Things and then becomes even more suave and slimy. He plays a politician and he is so convincing, I think he could actually run and people would vote for him. I love the treachery that oozes from his personality. He may not actually be treacherous, but he certainly feels like he's always scheming. Now, this is a quick binge thanks partly to the episodes, which are all under an hour, and then to the urgency of the investigation. We can feel the pressure that the large team is under as they seek out who perpetrated the attack. But also, they're up against some unknown clock, because what happened once could happen again. And the first time, it was devastating enough. Now, as the show winds down, the pace doesn't. It actually ramps up and then gains even more excitement. The drama is still present, putting characters into situations that are both revealing and precarious, too. But there's also this action angle where a few scenes are way more climactic than I had expected. I mean, I would have loved for these scenes to be longer than they were, just because as the actions felt like they were becoming extremely dire, they're resolved. And while the moment was thrilling, it could have been even more so had the story allowed it to proceed with the danger and peril. So from a cast perspective, Zero Day is packed with awesome talent, led by DeNiro, who dissolves into his character and provides an effortless delivery that's brilliant to watch. The story, while pertinent for today and incredibly gripping, it drops the ball on a few adjacent storylines, leading to a noticeable hole within the overall arc. The show also believes it's a little more clever than it is, using plot conveniences to smooth over the rough patches and masking them with stressful situations while hoping the audience won't grab hold of the shortcomings. This is a fun and energetic political thriller, and despite its flaws, still makes for a great binge. There's no sex, maybe some very brief nudity, a bunch of profanity, and then a lot of violence. I give Zero Day 4 out of 5 couches. Now, I'm willing to overlook some of the story wonkiness because the performances are so good. I hope you enjoy it too. So what's your favorite DeNiro role or maybe movie? Now, for me, I think just at least off the top of my head, Heat, obviously, I mean, come on, and then The Intern. Those rank really high for me. Let me know yours, though, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.